Hi everyone, it's Naketa. Welcome to Talk About It Thursdays. I'm so happy to have you join me. In a previous video, I promised to talk about a very important topic, a topic that a lot of us have experienced, but many of us don't know about, a topic that I feel personally is not discussed enough in our community. The topic is trauma. And so trauma is a very real thing, whether it happens in childhood or in adulthood. It's something that's very serious and it does affect us more deeply than sometimes I think a lot of us realize. And so that brings me to this other topic is how important it is to seek out help, right? And so there are some of us who don't want to go to therapy. We say, I'm not crazy. And I would love for us to have this common understanding that therapy is not for crazy people, whatever that means. I would love for us to go to a therapist when we have uncomfortable feelings, just as we would go to a doctor when we have an uncomfortable feeling in our bodies. Therapy should be routine and maintenance, just as we get our dental checkups, our annuals. I feel like therapy should be that way as well. There are so many things that we as human beings don't always fully understand that is happening to us, or we don't always understand why we are reacting the way we are or behaving in the ways we do. And therapy is so phenomenal for helping us figure those things out. But back to trauma. So with trauma, there is no trauma expert who can go and listen to you and say, oh, that was a trauma. Nope, that wasn't a trauma. That's not a thing. No one can tell you that something you've experienced is or is not a trauma or a traumatic event. It's going to differ for each person. So there could be two people who experience the exact same event and it affects them differently. And so for one person, it may not have affected them as deeply as the other person. And they've been traumatized. They are having a hard time moving on. They're having a hard time feeling safe. They're having a hard time, however, it manifests in their bodies. And so trauma is not something that is like necessarily tangible, where there's this list of trauma things. And if you get something on this list, then you've definitely been traumatized. That's not how trauma works. We're human, we're fragile, we're always taking in things through all of our senses, whether we realize it or not, especially our brain is constantly processing, even when we're not conscious of it. And so I think back to the therapy conversation, it's good to have those checkups, at least annually, to try to see what has been affecting us that we may not be aware of. So trauma is a very serious topic. It manifests differently in different people as far as how they react outwardly, how they react inwardly. It won't look the same. Some people I'm not a clinician, and so I don't want to start giving out things of this is how it looks. It just will look different for different people. And so as humans, I just ask that we try to have a better understanding and be more patient, especially with our children and our young adults in our schools and whom we work with. So adults who are working with this population, I especially ask for you all to be exceptionally mindful of the fact that this child, young adult, may have experienced a trauma that you know nothing about, and to just treat them well and be aware of your own triggers. Oh my goodness. While we're talking about trauma, one of the things that I've noticed when working with children and adults is that sometimes adults, not all adults, don't get angry at me, but sometimes some adults are not aware of their own triggers. And so when they are interacting with children, they are unconsciously triggered. And so then they react or feel attacked by the child. And so it's so important for adults working with children to understand their own triggers and work through their own trauma so that they can help children and not re-traumatize them. I feel like I've said trauma about 100 times in this video, and so that's probably a good place to end it. I would love, if there's something that I forgot, I would love to hear about it. Leave it down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.